Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here as well. Our national competitiveness, our investment in basic research, and the critical role that each plays in enhancing the other, as well as the energy security of our nation, are very important to me and my constituents in Illinois. Mr. McNally, you said in your testimony that too often leaders and observers predict or prescribe unachievable targets when it comes to the energy future in this country. In his State of the Union address last night, President Obama made frequent references to research and development, something I find ironic, coming from the president that cut high-energy physics, nuclear physics, manned spaceflight, and planetary science. Wondered, Mr. McNally, in your opinion, is the administration's focus on cutting basic research in order to subsidize favorable companies in the alternative energy market going to speed up or delay our eventual adoption of cleaner technology in the future?
Thank you for that question, Congressman Hultgren. In the interest of bipartisan open-mindedness, let me say that our energy predictions, our policymakers, are becoming more realistic. President Nixon kicked things off in 1973 by predicting we would be oil import-free by 1980. President Carter said we'd never consume more of a drop than we did in 1979. We're getting at least a little more realistic in our predictions and prescriptions. But to your question, no, in my view, it's not consistent with my testimony or my beliefs were we to shut down investments in basic core research that then can be deployed by the private sector in a viable way that adds to wealth and adds to productivity without continual government support. That would be a mistake to end those kinds of activities and shift them towards type of activities that, again, as I said in my testimony, there is a long record of failure. So that would not be my preference, sir.
Well, I appreciated, as I was stepping out, I've got another committee going on at the same time, so I apologize kind of jumping back and forth, but I had heard you mention a little bit earlier, again, your talk of how important basic scientific research is and the fear of really undercutting that, of how that puts us at a disadvantage. The President seems to think that asking us to spend more money on these short-term items is really the only way to achieve clean energy future. He seems to have this sense that we can just buy an immediate change in our economy. My sense is that it's going to take maybe 20 years or even longer of long-term basic research in the very subjects he's cutting, high-energy physics, nuclear physics, in order to produce the change and really change our fundamental ability to produce energy in a cleaner and cheaper way. Again, Mr. McNally, wondered if you could talk, what do you think the best use of limited resources at a time like this would be in order to best affect that?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to respond to that, Congressman. I wanted to connect a dot I don't think I did clearly enough with Representative Kennedy's question. The reason I thought that we would want to maybe invest in some research into batteries is because one of the main reasons wind is not economical is because you cannot store electricity. The wind blows in places where we don't need it, and electricity, unlike oil and coal, cannot be stored. So if we can figure out ways to store and discharge electricity, we will make all renewable forms of electricity, solar and wind, more economic. And that's an example, I think, of the potential benefit of core research. Another one, and again, my wife calls me Mr. Worst Case Scenario, so I'm not known for flowery predictions about wonderful transformations. But I will say, as I said in my testimony, if you asked me what plausible transformative change is out there that could happen in our lifetimes that could completely upend, in a positive way, our energy outlook, and I would think that we figure out how to get methane hydrates out of the Earth's crust. Like shale gas and shale oil of the day, we know it's there. We know the resources are enormous. Some estimates say there's 6 trillion TCF in the Gulf of Mexico. That's equal to the total proved reserves in the world, conventional reserves. What we have not figured out yet, and we and the Japanese and others are working on it, and DOE is doing some good work here, is to get that methane hydrate out of the crust in a safe way that doesn't create methane burps, if you will, and emissions. So those are the kind of problems that humans can solve. We don't have to figure out how to make algae go into gasoline. We know how to use methane. We just have to figure out how to get it out of the crust. We did it with shale gas and shale oil. I think we can do it with the government's help in the core basic research area with methane hydrates.
My time is winding down, but again, I really do appreciate each one of you being here. This is an important discussion to have. I do think especially a time like this where budgets are tight, resources are limited, we've got to focus. We're doing the work that only government can do, and I think that's basic scientific research. We've seen that industry can step in and apply what is discovered, but there's certain things that only we can do. So thanks for being here. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I yield back.